far. It's actually, I'm in the south. That's all the way in Luzon. I'm in Mindanao. That's like an island. There's a sea between us and a bunch of islands, Mike. So maybe when he's back in Davao, we can get that done. Hang out with parents. Maybe we drag in Jing. Maybe we drag in all the other Davao boys. We'll have a party here, and you're invited too, Mike. If you could make it to Davao, I don't know if you could.
Am I? Am I really?
Sure.
Oh, thank you for that, Jonathan. For once, I got invited. That's very good to see. I was actually talking to someone in chat earlier about coming down to the Philippines later on this year, which I am intending on making the trip. I did state that you, in particular, promised me a lechon, Jonathan, which I believe is how you pronounce it. You pronounced me some. You said I could have some lechon at your family's house, right? Yeah. I expect some fantastic cooking. People have been telling me that they have better lechon than you do, so now there's a competition going on between you and the viewers to see who has the best lechon. John, how would you rate your family's lechon? I mean, out of 10, give me a number.
You make it sound like we cook the damn thing. We don't cook the lechon ourselves. We buy it. Okay, it's a whole roast pig, Mike. We don't have the time to roast for 8 hours. We buy it. And I guess we know a couple of good lechon spots. So yeah, it should be pretty nice. I don't know. I actually have a hard time judging lechon. So there's this whole regional thing, like, where I think Cebu's lechon is known as the best. I've tried it. I think my family finds it a bit too salty. So I don't know. Davao lechon is a weird one. We're not really known for lechon. I'm not sure how Manila lechon is, because every time I'm with my family there, we kind of eat in restaurants. We don't tend to order a big lechon. Wow. It's more expensive in Manila as well. It's a metro city. Mike, I'm in the province. The farms are right there. Everything's a lot cheaper, so it's easier for us to have that. And I know. I know how to rate my lechon. It's like I know what to look for in lechon. I'm honestly pretty uncultured when it comes to a whole roast pig, Mike. I'm not so good at figuring out what's good.
So when I come down to the Philippines, am I able to fly straight to Davao City, John? Or do I have to go to Manila first and then
I think you'd have to stop Manila. Oh, I'm trying to think. We might have direct flights. I think we do have direct flights to Australia, because
wow,
I'm not sure. I think there are a couple of Sydney flights, but yeah, that's a good question. I think it's easier to go through Manila for you, though. Like, there are more flights, easier to book. I'm not sure if the pandemic's cut off a lot of those flights to Australia. But you could go Manila, you could spend some time there. Maybe you drop by some boot camps, say hi to Boom, say hi to Talon, say hi to T1, say hi to Execration, Neon, everyone's stuck there, Fnatic. And then go down to Cebu before going to Davao, say hi to Polaris, then head down here and we'll party.
I'll be visiting T1's boot camp. I've got to have a very, very stern conversation still about that Veno pick at TI-10, John. I have not forgotten. They have not escaped my grasp yet. I'm going to visit T1 and we'll have a very big chat about that drafting issue that I saw at TI-10. Still very, very upset about what happened, Jonathan. We should have won that one, for sure. Should have been ours. 100%.
Yeah, sometimes, Mike. We've had this conversation, right? And we've noticed this with a lot of our beloved Korean players, Febby, March, Forev. All of them have a tendency to just love Venomancer sometimes. When backs are against the wall,
it's because of
they go back to Veno.
It's because that you know why it is. They just think of StarCraft. They see the Venomancer. We get it. It's not a good hero. This is Dota 2. It's not StarCraft. You can't Zergling rush anything in this game. So please stop picking Venomancer. Stop picking AM and Viper as well, by the way. They're terrible heroes. Absolutely terrible.
You know what isn't terrible, though, Mike? The reconnections are here. And we're just waiting for Discord issues to fix itself out. There was a bit of a brownout. So obviously the power companies, again, conspiring to give us these massive pauses and waits in the CDPC. But it is what it is sometimes, Hard mode, Mike.
Well, you said it was hot, right, in the Philippines right now. So, I mean, you said it was hot, but I think you mentioned it was like 27 degrees, which isn't... I mean, no offense, John. That's not very hot when you're talking to an Australian.
Yeah, I think it was wrong. I think it's more like 38, as we do finally have the on pause, so you can thank your lucky stars. You have to stop watching us talk about nonsense. And we're back in the game, like 5 to 11.
I thought it was pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah. Maybe someday when you get to the Philippines, we can actually have more to talk about, being here, instead of these past 3 years of saying, oh, Mike, you should head down here. For 3 years, that's been one of our talking points. Get down here. 3 years.
Another talking point here, John. Mid lane, Carl. Very aggressive position on that Sand King, but he's going to back off. They won't make the jump in. Of course, with these long pauses, you tend to lose track of what the hell was happening in Game 1. But 7k net worth advantage for T1. Gabby has completely overtaken in terms of net worth. completely online now as this Luna. Of course, Palos does have Battle Fury on the anti-mage, but he is still quite far behind, and well, now he's kind of getting swarmed here by T1 down to that bot lane as they make their way over. Carl, see if he does spot him out in time.
Radiant's courier.
I'm on there as well, and oh, they do, but the Burrow Strike, it's off the mark, just a little bit short.
Are scanning.
I mean, you still got a chance at Shanks, but he's going to TP, and Whitemon is not going to make it in time. The Execration can be just fine here down at this bot lane.
Managed to bail out in the nick of time. So T1 just gonna have to farm up. They have another smoke bell. So they'll pop a smoke this time around, get the rotation, good line drawn onto the triangle. They know Palos is just falling back to build up. And they still have that epicenter ready to go on Carl. So you should be able to find the angle. They've got a pretty good low ground ward here to spot anyone playing by the tier 2. And we just need to work that out. Although, they see Tino instead.
They do, and Tino, well, he's quite tanky, but not tanky enough. I mean, nice easy pick off there for T1, and with the BKB up now on Gabby, it seems like they're more than happy to just go after that tier 2 bottom tower. There's not really much in the way of stopping them right now. In fact, top lane, yeah, epicenter Burrow Strike out onto Bob. Whitemon right behind, does get the Nightmare, has the Fiend's Grip as well, but just waiting on Vincenzo to use that Aphotic Shield. It won't matter, Reaper Sight's gonna fly out, and poor old Vincenzo, well, he was trying to help, but he is gonna pay for it quite heavily, as he will lose his own life. And hell, if you're T1 right now, John, you're thinking about Roshan.
Yep. You can just rush in. You've got the damage output with Gabby. They're hooking up. They got the lanes in pretty good position to get this done as well. They might be able to find a couple though, Shanks.
There you go, Shanks. Taken down immediately here by Zephyr. So hard once you cop that solar bind. Just so hard to get away. And that tier 2 mid tower not going to last very long either. Very easy for T1. This is something the panel talked about as well, John. When you've got that Luna on your side of things, pushing objectives is not difficult whatsoever. That's exactly what they'll keep doing. And again, if you're T1, I still think you look at Roshan at the moment.
You've got control of the triangle. There is good vision here from Execration though, watching that Roche pit and the nearby areas. The top jungle's warded, the tier 1 area is warded on the Dire side. So if you do go for Roche, Execration will be aware. And Execration are going for a smoke play right now.
They are. Who do they find? Line being drawn out does lead to Carl and Zephyr. Either one would probably be a great kill right now, but they're going to miss out on Carl. Instead, Zephyr is still around. If they can catch him out, and with the Dragon Tail they will. That'll be one. T1 almost thought about rushing in there to try and force the fight, but it'll be a disadvantageous position for them, so they'll leave it be for now. Just wait it out for another time, I think.
That's a pretty big pick-off. Zephyr is worth 7k net worth, just about the same level as Tino. T1 will go for that smoke play now, but you have to appreciate that. Zephyr matching an offlane.
Yeah, I certainly do, John. Bob, he's just gone instantly. Vincenzo not able to move in and help out. They don't even require the Reaper's Sight for the Leshrac, and well, with the Nightmare, they can just hold Vincenzo down. And there's your Reaper's Sight. Roshan time.
Yeah. Again, there is that ward watching. Carl?
Palos. He's going to be okay. They will go after Roshan.
Yeah. Doesn't take too long. Damage output of Gabby is good. And they can always just sustain Whitemon. Kind of tank the front. Death Seeker's there to cut off Fascist. Not the quickest Roche, but they will get it done eventually. Doesn't feel like Execration has too much team fight. I think that's one thing their lineup really lacking. They've got a lot of AoE control with Lesh, but from the offlane, you've got the single target stun. Your supports don't really offer the best stuns. Homing missile is one, but it's very delayed. So you're really hinging on like a good jump in from Bob, mainly a good jump in from Tino, and you can only keep one hero down. So you have to somehow split T1 up to kind of find that opportunity with the DK, and it feels like if you managed to get that blink on Tino much earlier, you could have played a lot faster. Instead, he had to go for Hood of Defiance. His lane was a lot more even than you'd like it to be. He was ganked up a couple of times. The slower blink has really taken away a lot of that momentum from Execration, because we saw Bob have a really good time mid. Right? He was handling mid really well. They had the supports collapse in, enabling that Lesh, but they didn't have a way to keep that momentum going because of Tino getting stalled out, and you're seeing the effects of that now. 12k lead for T1, just because there's a lot of dead time there that Gabby could use to farm up and Carl used to get his blink.
Yep.
Radiant's top
At
tower
least you do
has
have the
fallen.
Manta now up on Palos, but again, you're still not at a stage where you're ready to fight. Maybe once the Skadi's there, the AM does feel a bit stronger and a bit more able to join these engagements, but he might go now. A lot of TP's coming in. Palos will join in. They'll try and focus down Cuckoo, but the Nightmare is going to save, or maybe not. They've drained all the mana, but now Gabby with the Eclipse trying to move in onto Bob, onto Vincenzo. Who are we actually aiming? Bob, he's still alive, but not for long. A big Burrow Strike epicenter. Carl's in. Tino's in trouble. On the DK, he's going to drop. And Shanks, well, he may not make it out either. It was a decent start. They focused down the Necro, but that's about all they get, along with Whitemon, and they'll pretty much wipe the whole team out apart from Palos.
And that opens up the high ground. No dragon form on the respawn here for Tino, and the siege is simple.
Another Burrow Strike, Carl getting the double stun off. Palos, so much damage being taken,
Oh
as
my
the Solar
God.
Bind's going to slow him down.
Radiant's top tower is under
Chakra Magic, John, you love it.
Yep, double stuns for Carl. Makes it nice and simple to pin down an AM, and as we talked about, the AM needs so much more. Manta is up, but you don't have the stats to stand and fight. Scotty has to come through. T1 not in a good position anymore to keep that push up with respawns coming in, so they'll play it safe, they'll back off. They still have Aegis for 3 minutes here, Mike. A lot more time. They can think about re-engaging after a slight reset, and they maintain a 16k lead. 8-22. Looking good for T1 so far. That fast pace is kicking in. I mean, Execration did look good a while ago. Again, they had some shining moments, especially in the laning phase into the early mid game, but they just gave way too much time away, and now it's all about stalling out for this AM to grow bigger and bigger, and maybe try to build up a little bit more onto Bob as well.
Well, speaking of the Devil, John, Bob has been caught behind a Burrow Strike of Carl right into the epicenter and the Reaper's side. It's so hard to fight into this. It's T1, they're more than happy to keep it going. Vincenzo, he'll tank a lot of the damage flying out, but Gabby right in onto the gyrocopter going for another target, and there goes Shanks. Vincenzo, he's gone as well. No chance of survival. Might be high ground time.
Yep, still have Aegis for 2 minutes here. Full Silver Edge up on Gabby. Damage is looking good. You have Dragon Form back up in Tino, so you can wave clear a little bit with the Fireball, but how do you take these fights? Again, the team fight angle is just very difficult for Execration here.
You have that constant heal coming up from Zephyr to boot, and that makes it such a hard kind of initiation, right? Because you can't actually just dwindle away at their HP pools. They'll always be max HP with Zephyr behind them. That'll be one lane of barracks down. Onto the second. You are still playing against the Luna, so she does have to take Raxus quite fast. Poor old Shanks. Gonna have to back off. Gabby. Still a minute on that Aegis left.
Radiant's
They won't stop.
has fallen.
They'll go for 2, and I think after that it'll be time to back off. Lotino gonna jump in. There goes Palos as well, but he's been caught out again. No chance. Is the top Rax is gone, and T1, they might force the buyback and go for T4 towers.
Is under attack.
Yeah, can't quite go for Mega Creeps. Tier 2 still standing bot, but you have a Luna. The Glaives just bounce around. This is not going to take too long to melt through 2 Tier 4 towers here.
Carl channeling up the Epi. Just pump faking right now, warning them. Palos still not buying back, just being very patient as they'll go on to Tino now with the break, the Dragon Knight. Just not tanky enough, and now the Eclipse. Vincenzo just can't survive as Palos is still not buying back. Gabby, almost hoping to die at this point, does finally go down. He needed the reset. But this game, I mean, it's basically over. There's no buyback coming out. There we go. Palos is now going to move in, but they've lost Tino a second time.
Radiant's ancient is under attack.
It's they
Time
don't
to
have
call it.
much fight. Yep. It's a rough one for Execration. I think, again, it just came down to maybe timing from the off. They had this really strong start for Bob. The mid lane went surprisingly well. Execration played as they said in the interview. Right? They went in, guns blazing onto mid, trying to pressure Carl, trying to ensure Bob gets off to a good start. They found the tier 1 mid really fast. But what took time here for Execration? That blink initiation on Tino took way too long. Like, by the time he had to blink up, T1 managed to find a lot more, and I think for Execration, maybe having something that can give them more teamfight to follow through with Lesh on the off lane next time round is the way to go, or just giving Tino a stronger start, because again, it felt
How
like
are
the
you gonna
follow
blame
through for the
Tino?
Leshrac start was tough.
How are you gonna blame Tino for that game? Come on now. How you had that great of a start? You're gonna blame Tino on the DK? What if they had a pos one that actually did something, John? I mean, Tino, you expect Tino to just carry the game with an... It's not that easy, Jonathan. I mean, all right, props to you. Tino didn't get the blink fast enough. What were you going to do after that? Who's your carry, John? You see my point. Anyway, we're going to head off to a very short break, and after that break, we'll be back with our panel, and we'll see how Game 2's draft goes.